Welcome to the Pole Nation. It's Lambo and Lambo Sports is entered by Sideline Sports Network. Today we'll be talking about the future of college football. So yes, as of today, 30 teams will change conferences. Also, there was big news, I think, around last year or 2 years ago, around 2021, 2022. Texas and Oklahoma in the summer of 2021 decided to move from the Big 12 to the SEC. It created a little bit of realignment trickle down throughout college sports. Most of these moves will go into effect before next year. Also, in total, there's 14 schools that will officially join conferences as of today, which is more than 10% of the FBS. So I'm going to add these teams. So there's Big 12. So now the Big 12 has 14 teams. They added Cincinnati, Houston, UCF from the American Athletic Conference, and they added BYU from the West Coast Conference and FBS Football Independence. So as of today, they're going to have Baylor, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia. That is part of the Big 12 right now. That is for this year. Now, like I said, Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC, but that's not until 2024. So as of right now, you have those teams in there as well. So after they moved to the SEC, the Big 12 was able to stabilize the league by pulling some of the recent season's most successful college football programs outside of the top five, with the addition of Cincinnati and UFC. Helped strengthen the league's eastern wing, where West Virginia has previously been isolated for a very, very, very long time. Now, at the American Athletic Conference, they lost about three teams. So they lost Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF to the Big 12. They've added teams. Florida Atlantic, I think it's a pretty good team as well. They added Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, UAB, UTSA from the Conference USA. As of today as well, the full teams in that AAC are Charlotte, East Carolina, Florida Atlantic, Memphis, Navy for football only. Football only for Navy because Navy is a little bit different. So it's only for football. Any other conference, that's different. North Texas, Rice, SMU, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, UAB, USF, UTSA, and Wichita State non-football. So whatever sport besides football will be in that conference. So they lost three schools to the Big 12. UConn before that. The AAC first looked at the West. There was a possibility, was hoping to add Air Force, Boise State, and Colorado State, and San Diego State from the Mountain West. That didn't pan out well. So they went big and doubled down on out-of-state Texas with three additions, and they went to the upside schools of FAU, UAB, and Charlotte. The Owls went to make a Final Four run in the spring as well. So the Conference USA, they've lost six teams in the Conference USA. They lost Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UAB, and UTSA to the AAC. The only thing they added was Liberty from the ASUN and FBS Football Independence. They added New Mexico State from the WAC and the Football Independence, and they add Sam Houston from the WAC and Jacksonville State from the FCS Independent. So as of the 23rd, they've added FIU, Jackson State, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, UTEP, and Western Kentucky. Now, it's going to be a lot. It's a lot of information gathering, but after losing those members to the Sun Belt and the AAC and the Conference USA needed to pull from whatever it could pull to maintain a large enough league to be valuable and popular in the FBS. The arrivals of two FCS programs within the existing footprint of Kennesaw State that's coming in next year will help solve the problem. The departure of Liberty and New Mexico State from the ranks of FBS independents leaves just four programs with the status of 2023. You still have Notre Dame, you still have UConn, UMass, and Army. Those are some of those teams that are in the mix to be in whatever conference. I think as of Notre Dame, as me being a Notre Dame fan, I think they're going to try to stay in the independent conference. I'm not sure. I think they had plans to go to the ACC, or there was rumors that came out they were supposed to go to the ACC. But I just don't really see that happening, even though it was in the ACC during the COVID year. But they have a TV contract with NBC, so we're gonna have to see about that. The Sun Belt Conference, they added Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss from the Conference USA. They also added James Madison from the Colonial Athletic Association. As of today, in that conference, you have Appalachian State, Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, James Madison, Louisiana, Marshall, Old Dominion, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Texas State, Troy, Louisiana, Monroe. And those conferences didn't lose any schools that play football in 2021. But as well, in the flurry moves, but it felt like it was an opportune time to explain by adding the schools which within this footprint that have a strong history or the existing rivalries that already have in place for football. The conference decided to stick with football divisions too. It did seem that non-football members like Little Rock and UT Arlington depart from the conference to focus on football only. And Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss originally planned to join in 2023, but they both prevailed in court and left the CUSA for the Sun Belt in 2022 season. Now, reminder, in 2024, Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC, USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten, Kennesaw State goes to the Conference USA, and for the Pac-12, it is kind of still up in the air as well. So we're going to see, how that goes. I'm not going to go really too big into it any longer, but what do these moves mean for the Big 12, Pac-12, and the ACC? So here's what it means. Both of these moves will leave massive impacts on the conferences. The Big 12 does seem to be in better shape than the Pac-12 if it was announced that Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BRU become full-time members of the Big 12. That's after in 2024 when Texas and Oklahoma departed for the SEC. The Big 12 is still able to keep three of its biggest college basketball schools, Texas Tech, Baylor, and Kansas. As far as football, there's still some hope for the Big 12. TCU, like I said, is 3 wins away from their at the time, they were 3 wins away from his first ever college playoff berth at the time that this came out. Baylor came very close to entering the playoff last year. They're also adding Cincinnati and BRU that will help bring in college football revenue. And Cincinnati was the first of the 5 teams to make the playoff within the last 3 years, as well as BYU. It's one of the most predominant groups of the 5 teams in recent years. You add the addition of Houston, a very college basketball school under head coach Kevin Sampson, has made the team one of the most premier programs in college basketball. They were at point sometime last year, they were ranked 3rd before losing to Oklahoma. And Texas is still devastating for the conference. Losing Oklahoma in a top football conference is a blow to the conference. Oklahoma, like I said, in college football was the only Big 12 school that had made the college football playoff as the Sooners are tied for 3rd in all sports. Texas has seen the recent struggles in football, but they've been doing very well with recruiting with the coach of Steve Sarkisian as well. So we're going to see, how this goes as well. So that is the future of college football as of right now. For the Pac-12, the future is kind of unknown. Like I said, you got UCLA under Chip Kelly, USC under Lincoln Riley. They're going to depart from the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 we're going to lose 2 of the biggest revenue schools probably in college football, which only these are with 10 teams left. On top of this, Oregon and Washington have made it clear along as well they want out of the Pac-12 to join the Big Ten. There's been no announcement or further information of that school joining the new schools joining the Pac-12. The only realistic option for the Pac-12 is to have the Mountain West schools as far as Boise State, Nevada, Fresno State, San Diego State. And the Pac-12 does not have any elite programs the way the Big 12 does besides Oregon. And they don't bring nearly as much revenue as UCLA and USC did for all athletics. Utah has shown that they have grown in the football program. And Arizona is a big name in college basketball. But besides that, the Pac-12 is just not as much as we enjoy or we watch. So basically, I think the Pac-12, out of all those teams and not a lot of revenue, is in big trouble. So what does this mean for college football? Everything is about money. Everything's about revenue. So we're going to see what happens along those lines. And we're going to see, as this upcoming football season and next, what is the future of college football. This is Lambos Water Sports presented by Satellite Sports Network. We will be seeing you later on.